Greetings all, and welcome to Everything Borrowed, where conversations are cultivated between myself and some of the greatest minds in a variety of industries. This episode is presented to you by Blake's Hard Cider, a grower and producer of the sweetest nectar in all the land. If you like your beverages that taste good, are gluten-free, and made with only the finest apples, then look no further. Go to www.blakeshardcider.com to get this uncompromised, handcrafted liquid delivered right to your door. Or just head to your local grocery store and pick some up. You must be at least 21 to enjoy the fruits of our labor mindfully. On today's episode, we sit down at my grandparents' 130-year-old original farmhouse. It's a cold and muddy day, but we are joined by someone that brightens everyone's day, the infinitely talented Bo Shepard. Bo's story is one of pivoting careers and turning a passion and skill set into a fast-growing business in Detroit. Bo discusses scaling your business and landing accounts like Target and Nordstrom, all within the first few years of business. Find out how her business has been affected during the pandemic and how her storefront has survived. For a little context, how'd you get into doing what you're doing? Because obviously, as a female in Detroit, in the woodworking space, that's something that not a ton of people have charted a path through.
That's like a hard question because, so me growing up, I'm originally from the East Coast. My dad's a contractor, so I've always been into working with my hands. My mom was also an artist, but she's also a dentist. But just being surrounded by culture, arts, just kind of like building from the ground up. I actually was an interior designer at GM for 5 years, so Woodward Throwbacks wasn't really in the cards. So pretty much my partner Kyle, we started Woodward Throwbacks kind of as a passion project. We were biking around the city, Detroit, and we noticed an abundance of illegal dumping, which is construction debris, anything from household items kind of just tossed in the street. And we were taking those materials and building furniture for our homes. So yeah, it was just like a budget friendly, but it was actually kind of cool, just like taking something and just using it for our own house.
Right, and you were just making stuff for your own house.
Yeah, we were just making it for ourselves.
kind of a hobby project, and you found all this reclaimed material and make cool things for your house.
Yeah, and then we started selling at Eastern Market, which is a local market in Detroit, and then we started selling it to friends, and then we got an account with Nordstrom's and Target, and it was kind of wild how fast it started. But since then.
And why do you think, when you think about, how people kind of gravitated very quickly to what you were doing, was it because you were just so talented, because you're an amazing marketer? I mean, obviously people know about you. You made cranes, 20 in the top 20 in their 20s.
Yeah.
What do you think was kind of the thing that kind of set what you guys were doing apart? I know, me and my friends we'll have some beers and try to make some furniture, and it never turns out that great. And obviously we're not very skilled, but what do you think it was that kind of set you kind of on the path to where you where you got to?
Texture. I think it's because we're not afraid to kind of highlight
the
material. Yeah, it's highlighting what the material was and kind of showing people what it can be. And then it's like I said, it's just a story saying like, hey, this awesome bench or this little wall sign that we made was from X, Y, and Z, and you have little remnants of its previous life. So yeah, it's all about the story. And
and so when you as an artist, and I've always wondered about this as you try to scale your art, which is like the hardest thing for an artist, because when you're doing things on a smaller scale, you can really be specific to one piece and with that one story, and then as people like Target and Nordstrom's kind of come along, they want maybe the same type of product, same SKU type thing. So how did you as an artist kind of manage that? And are you still doing just piece by piece, or are there certain types of SKUs that you're working into?
It's harder because we actually don't do the smaller size home decor. We've actually grown up and evolved as a business where we're now designing, one-of-a-kind piece of furniture like kitchen islands. And now we're even designing spaces. So from breweries to residential commercial spaces. But back to that question, I think it's each piece of our work isn't the same. And so we tell our clients up front, it's never the same. So we tell our clients up front, like, you see this photo, you want exactly this, but you're not gonna get that. You're gonna get something that like I said, is one of a kind. It has its own story. So I think if you understand that, then you'll be okay when you get this whole mass production of shipment and each piece is different.
Right. And do you feel that it's hard to scale that type of model or to build a business on that model? Or do you feel because what you do is so unique that the model works because everything's its own kind of installment, its own art piece, its own, kind of
when you think about
version of itself?
We use salvage materials. So when you think about salvage, it doesn't necessarily mean wood from a 100-year-old barn or something that's so historic.
Right.
For us, recycle and salvage can be, a 2x4 that a construction worker just tossed away. So our whole thing is about sustainability. Like I said, it's all about the story, but at the same time, it's all about being, economical and making sure that we're reusing and we're not contributing to the landfill.
Sure.
That's
so
awesome. I feel like we have an abundance of materials. It's just about how you use that material.
Sure. What's your most proud moment as you've kind of went on this endeavor, and where was like the moment where like, wow, what we're doing has become something? Because I know for every entrepreneur, every artist, you kind of you do it because you love it and because you're passionate by it, but a lot of times you're looking for something that kind of gives you that reaffirmation that like you're on the right path. And did you have like an aha moment? Is it kind of,
I feel like every day it's an aha moment.
Yeah.
No, I think our like main like holy shit moment was when I left my 5-year career at General Motors being a designer, and I'm just like, I'm going to be a small business owner. That was the first aha moment. The second aha moment was when we bought our new facility, which is a 24,000 square foot old Dodge dealership.
Awesome.
So part of it is our showroom, which we're open on Saturdays. And the first level is our warehouse. So like I said before, we were just doing home decor. Now we're selling doors. We're selling not so much lumber because we design products out of it.
Right.
But just salvage and vintage items. So we have this like 7,000 square foot space where clients could come in and get materials for their homes, and then we can design using the materials. So that was the aha moment, just kind of having that facility and going from a 2-person business to now like a 10-person business.
That's awesome. And are you hiring, as your business has evolved, are you hiring on the art side? Are you hiring artists and woodworkers? Are you hiring, people to help you out with the books? I mean, because I know
all of that.
It's all of it, right?
Yeah, like we have, we actually just hired a marketing guy who's going to be running our website. Actually, for our interior design section of the business, I just hired another interior designer yesterday or today.
Congratulations.
I think by what's it called? Our partner is actually calling her today, which is exciting.
Oh, that's awesome.
We have 2 woodworkers, and then we have this one girl, Stacy, who's amazing. She does all of our finishing.
Okay.
Which I feel like is probably one of the most important jobs, because after you build a product, the last stage is finishing, making sure the color and it feels good.
Right.
And she's kicking ass.
That's awesome. So if you've gotten into the interior design space, so if you were to come out to Blake's and we said, we want you to redo our cider mill, you would come in and kind of lay out a reclaimed approach to redesigning?
Pretty much whatever you would want. I mean, we would start with a consultation. We'll talk about your timeline, budget, what's the look and feel, and then we'll give you a proposal, pretty much hitting all of like the key elements that you want in the space.
Sure.
And we'll
where has when you look at your business, and obviously you've kind of you said you've grown it up. And now you're doing.
We're adults now.
Yeah, right.
I think so.
Exactly.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, you get like past like 26, and it's like you gotta.
Oh God, I'm in the 30s.
Me too. So, but we're still young for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But when you think about how your business evolves and kind of where you're spending most of your time now, is it pieces from your show, selling in your showroom? Is it online? Is it these individual spaces? Where is the bulk of your business? I know, I'm sure it's a little bit of all of it. But where's the focus and where's the future as you see for your company?
I feel like the future is something that we can't even fathom because of this crazy time we're living in right now.
Right?
But I have to say, since Rona, we completely reconfigured our business in a sense where most of our sales are online, which is like, wild. So in the beginning of Rona, me and Kyle were just like, all right, how are we going to survive this? So we literally documented every single piece, every single door, every single salvage, every piece that we designed and put online, and just made sure that we were hot and heavy with Instagram, kind of showing people our offerings. So definitely the future is e-commerce, but I'm hoping that we can remain open on Saturdays and people can still come in and get the real experience of.
Well, I think it's like it's two separate things, right? You know, you think about what Rona has kind of forced us to all do, and I think in some ways there is a silver lining, as while we're gonna go back, knock on wood, soon here, back to normal.
Yeah.
But
everyone takes their vaccine.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for real, right?
Yeah.
It's like, let's get over this thing.
Yeah, come on, guys.
Let's not be ridiculous. But I think that it forces businesses to look at ways in which they have to adapt to survive, and then probably hold on to some of that. Like, you'll probably forever have a growing e-commerce business, probably because of Rona to some degree, because it gives you some level of I think you're kind of spreading out your approach a little bit. But you talk about the showroom being the experience piece. I think that's one thing that everyone's really pining for during the Rona times is, we're kind of lacking experience and being able to walk in and see something and feel something and, to talk with people about things. We're kind of in these our own little bubbles, if you will.
Yeah.
And, trying to still interact and integrate with artists. And I do feel like, it's so nice to hear that your business is growing through this, because I think you've evolved beyond an artist. You're an entrepreneur. You're I'm sure you have many definitions of yourself, but it feels like artists really in this time of the pandemic have been hindered probably the most, because their art is so experiential and things are so experiential. So it's nice to hear that you have been able to be in a place where you've been able to kind of adapt and morph kind of through that. And what would you say? You said you're originally from the East Coast. And what do you feel that like Detroit has really brought to your business? Like, would your business be the same in Philadelphia?
Oh, of course not.
And what about Detroit kind of, I think, gives your company spirit? Because I always felt like Detroit played a role in, I don't know, it's the fact that we have a lot of abandoned buildings to salvage from. Like, I don't know exactly what it is, but I just felt like the grit and the spirit of Detroit had kind of really speaks to the type of company that you've created. And
well, I mean, that's exactly it. You just said it. It's the grit and it's the spirit, and it's also the community. I feel like with me, what really gets my gears turning is architecture. I feel like the architecture is second to none when it comes to other cities. I mean, there's other Rust Belt cities that are also amazing, but yes, the fact that we do have an abundance of materials and the decay. But what I like to do, and as you see on our Instagram, I like to highlight Detroit in its entirely, the good, the bad, the ugly, because I feel like Detroit has just negative like connotation to it. I'm like, just give it a chance. Like, things are kind of changing. But going back to your question, I don't think we can do it in your city, because Detroit has a sense of hustle. Yeah. And it's just like, me and Kyle, dude, we're hustlers. We've been hustling from the beginning, making these small little signs. Now we're designing spaces using the material from the city. And so, like I said, the city has so much history. Sure. And like, it deserves to be told.
Right.
You gotta tell its story.
And people like you are, I think, are the best representatives of ways in which we can tell that story. And I think the artists and the entrepreneurs who are living it, breathing it, embodying it are the ones that will bring its kind of beauty to the rest of the world. And I feel like we need more people kind of in the heart of Detroit, communicating out to the rest of the world kind of where it is, because I feel a sense of pride every time I tell people where I'm from, and then you kind of get people are like, you're from,
like, what?
Yeah, it's
like,
you
moved there?
Yeah, right. What's your, I'm sure your day-to-day has evolved, since you started. And what is it now? Are you still in the art? Are you running your business? I mean, you're probably doing all of it and working 7 days a week and everything, but...
I don't even have like a routine. It's kind of just like, what do I need to do?
Sure. And, where do you see yourself evolving? Are you always going to stay... we got some awesome time to talk with James Regato from Mabel Gray yesterday, and had a lot of great people on the show the last couple of days, and a lot of them are artists, And one of the questions that we always are talking about is, as your art grows or gets more exposure, or your product, if you will, do you stay with the art as far as hands-on with it, or is it you give it to someone else and you kind of watch it from afar and help it grow as like an entrepreneur. So where's your head at with how much you're still touching and feeling the art, and how much are you kind of helping lead the growth of the company?
Definitely, it's been a stepping back type situation, because I feel like you have to step back and develop trust. I feel like trust was a really big issue. Like I mentioned, Stacy, the one girl who's finishing all of the work, that was my job. So she's now finishing, but that also gives me time to focus on the interior design, to focus on, designing new salvage that's coming in and making something new with it, and then passing it on to her, like, all right, this is now your task. So I definitely see myself kind of taking a step back, but like kind of peering up towards, like, oh, are you doing this okay?
Yeah,
but
I always say that you have to detach with awareness. It's kind of what it is. You can't be attached to who you were, what role you played, or what you used to be in charge of. You have to really kind of let go and kind of observe as you're letting go, and then come back in when you need to, and then let go again. It's kind of like this slow process of just letting go for others to kind of step in and take the roles in which you create the next bow, within your own company.
And that's also like, that's the only way a business is going to grow. If you bring in more people and create this little family, this little hub where it's just like they completely understand you and your business and what you're trying to achieve. And so it's just like, then I can go to meetings, it's just like, me and Kyle, we are the face of Woodward Throwbacks, so we need to actually show face and attend X, Y, and Z, but still make sure like our business is running and not falling apart. So it's very scary. But
what do you have any one of the things I've gotten a lot of feedback on as we kind of went through a lot of these interviews was ways in which you kind of try to stay grounded in all of this. And for artists, a lot of times the art is the grounding. Sometimes with people it's meditation, working out. Where do you get your grounding? Are you just grinding, hustling 24/7? And have you found that you need that, or are you? Some people don't need it, but some people are really try to find other avenues beyond their business to kind of stay sane, for lack of a better term. And how do you operate? Because it seems like you are constantly going and constantly working and hustling. And
but see, that's my life. Like, I like being busy. I'm the type of person where, I don't like to be bored. You know what I mean? It's just gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna watch a movie, and just like, I know Kyle, he's like, I'm gonna go for a bike ride. I'm like, okay, well, but for me, and this sounds kind of wild, going on salvage jobs. So every weekend, or even when we travel, me and Kyle always drive our big van, and we always pick up things along like the road. So whether we're going to different salvage spots or meeting with other pickers, that's exciting, because you're building a relationship with someone that you would probably never see again, especially if we're traveling outside of the state. But it's a little treasure hunt, and I love that. I feel like that's exciting for me, because I'm handpicking what I'm going to sell and things that are inspiring.
Things that you're great with.
Then I get to bring back to business, and then they can deal with it.
That's awesome.
That keeps me
So there's
grounded.
actually a group of people called pickers, and they travel. And
I'm the Detroit version, or Detroit chapter.
Detroit chapter. So how do you find these salvage spots? Is this like a, maybe you can't tell your secret, but can you just like plan like a road trip and be like, I'm gonna go to Florida and back and on a salvage trip,
that's
and
maybe that's a little far.
Okay.
So I think the farthest we ever went, and it wasn't just for salvage, it's more of like vacation. We want to explore a new city, because that's what we love to do. We went to St. Louis. So we went to St. Louis probably 2 years ago, and whenever we travel, we always bring our big like moving van. And so just doing a little research, like, all right, what salvage, or antique stores are in downtown St. Louis. And usually we befriend the owner, and then that's when it kind of snowballs. He's like, oh, well, I have a friend who has X, Y, and Z. We can go visit him. And so it's kind of like just creating these relationships with other antiquers and pickers to find the gold. And so that's kind of like our vibe. But going back to the whole like staying grounded and
Yeah.
just like what we do to kind of woosah, that's it.
Yeah.
It's just like we find joy in exploring and sharing stories and kind of just seeing and finding things that we can't find in Detroit.
Right.
So like I brought back a couple doors from St. Louis that had all these decorative details. I'm like, I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure and bring this back in. Maybe I'll design something that's similar. It's all just being inspired.
Well, I have to imagine that gets interesting because in you know, the olden days, 50 years ago probably, when you had a lot more, woodworkers and craftsmen that weren't, kind of, scaled out in kind of the mass production model.
Yeah.
You had probably real artists or local craftsmen
Oh,
who had a
for
certain way of
sure.
making their doors or a certain way of making their fences or a certain way of making, X, Y, or Z. So I imagine you get that local, kind of flavor wherever you salvage from, which is interesting. So there's so many layers, I feel, to kind of what you can create through the different spots you're grabbing stuff from.
Oh,
right?
yeah. I mean, that's like when someone's just like, oh, it's just like, I can't believe this door is like $500, which is like, okay. I mean, we have
Right.
like different ranges of prices for doors because we want it to be affordable for everyone. But at the same time, just like if you wanted me to rebuild that door, which was built in like the 1800s, early 1900s, I would have to charge you like 10 grand. So like I feel like, the quality and the craftsmanship is second to none. Like you can't, you can recreate it, but it's not going to be the same.
Right. I don't want to say this offensively. I don't mean it offensively, but how much money have you spent on buying junk?
Oh God, no. Actually, well, this is not junk. Usually when we travel, we probably bring like $2 or $3 grand.
Okay, so
And we
you're
try
putting
to
out some money though. Every trip.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
awesome.
we ain't leaving unless the truck is filled. Sometimes I'm like, oh, like it's kind of empty and kind of like, oh, we want to do. I don't like to buy just to buy. I want to make sure that it's something that I like.
Right.
But yeah, it sucks when like we can't fill up the van. But it's nice because like, okay, we saved some money.
So when I look at our business, there's always been kind of someone who I guess we're aspiring to, whether it be for the farm and the entertainment side for families. It's like Disney, right? I want to emulate some of their best practices because there's so much to learn, and they create these worlds that people can enter into, and we feel that we can do that here with tradition and family experiences, and people can kind of escape their kind of 9 to 5, their normal lives, and come here and go apple picking and get lost in the farm, and so I've always kind of had some of those aspiring companies that we hope to kind of learn from or borrow from, if you will. And I'm just curious if there's a particular company in the reclaiming world or in the building world of what you do that you kind of aspire to that is motivation for what you guys do.
Oh God.
I mean, I know you're original as shit.
I know. I don't want to say that. Like, well, there's like no one to really compare.
I know. I'm just curious if there's any company, design company or otherwise, that you were like, I'm taking some moves from them. I'm borrowing something.
Yeah, so there's this company called Retrovis. They're in the UK, and they started in the 1990s, salvage company, just like Woodward Throwbacks, and they have now this insane warehouse just full of amazing material that they've collected throughout the years. But most importantly, they're a design studio, and so that's what our next venture is to. We're making all of this amazing materials with the things that we find. I want to design something and put it back into a badass space. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
right,
it's just like, it has to, I want this whole like full circle experience, and they've captured that. So it's just like, I want to get to their level. Like we're here, they're here,
Sure.
but I think we can be like here in the next couple of years.
That's awesome. And I think that as long as you kind of are setting those goals, like, you never get there as soon as you want to, I feel, ever. But I think that the real part is setting the journey up and then enjoying it along the way. And it seems like you guys have. I mean, it seems like you have really kind of been able to evolve your goals and kind of your identity, if you will. Throughout. And I think that's a big thing because I think some people get really caught up in just I'm the artist woodworker X, and and you're willing to kind of open up space to kind of look at. How you want your business and yourself to evolve within it. And I think that's one of the things I've noticed as I've got to interview a lot of cool people over the last month, that you notice that people are willing to kind of throw away their old to kind of like think about to think about their new is kind of really kind of the way of evolving, in a way that's positive. So I see that in what you guys are doing.
Thank
for
you. And it's nice not to evolve too quickly because, like I said, it's all about, having this transition and kind of, if it was all positive and we just never made any mistakes, it's just like, we're not really living. So it's just like we need to make mistakes. We need to fall, but get right back up. And so that's like what I love about what we're doing so far or right now is because we're hitting all of our goals, but it's kind of like this like slow and steady because we're really kind of finding like, what do we want to achieve? Sure.
Yeah. When you think about the mistakes that you've made and some of the things that have kind of that you've learned from. You got any funny ones or tragic ones that almost put you out? Because I got about 10 of them that almost kind of stopped our progression. Just because whether it's ordering. For me, we ordered $100,000 worth of the wrong labeled cans that showed up.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
nothing that bad.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, and so that was an interesting family discussion. Having to break that news and it was all on me. So I know I have a few of those like real humbling moments. Did you guys have any where you just were like, I don't even know how to do the books, or I don't know how to pay the bill, or anything like that you really kind of learned from, or that you stumbled from and kind of got better from?
I think for me, it's just making sure that you just write down clear notes. I've had instances where I'm talking to a client and I'll miss something, and then having to go back to the clients weeks after I already spoke to them, or maybe a couple days before the project is due, asking for a crucial detail like what color they wanted. That's something where I find it embarrassing, and it's something that I make sure all my employees just make sure, like, we actually have like a best practice and like a list of items that make sure you have like their name, date, address, phone number, skin color, size, dimensions, budget, like everything. And probably my most recent mistake, which I fixed, was I did a couple samples for a client and I gave them to them, but I never took photos of the samples.
So you forgot what they looked like?
So I forgot what they looked like, and then they ended up being the wrong color. Yeah. They were a little bit lighter, and so I had to go back and like restamp. And so, like I said, time is money, and that's the biggest thing with our company is that we don't have room for mistakes. Right. And to pull my employees and go back on the job site. So those are just the little things, nothing too crazy, like 100 cans. Yeah, right. And I hope that we never get to that point where we're making mistakes like that.
You seem pretty on it. I don't think you will. I wasn't really paying it. One of my younger years when we first started, I was not, as refined as you see me now.
Oh, it was great.
It was, when we first started, it was right out of college, and you're still like, waking up hungover and going into work and trying to just like figure out.
I have my fair share of
those. Exactly. It's like I always say this: if you get like. If you get out of your 30s and you're not like a completely crazy person and you've got it figured out, you've kind of passed the 20s level.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I just feel
you're
like
winning.
Yeah, you're winning, exactly. So, it's just crazy to see like, the type of evolution, as an entrepreneur that you can take, in 7 years from when you're in your young 20s to your early 30s. And, what are some of the things that you think that you want to work on as an entrepreneur? Because you're obviously super talented as a human, as an individual. You're kind, you're nice, beautiful, all these things, of course. But, as you look at it as an entrepreneur and the opportunities to kind of evolve, where do you see your areas for growth?
Organization.
Yeah,
I think I kind of just like spilled all of like my bad habits of not writing things down. But I think we have so many projects in queue right now. And like I said, our team's expanding like insanely. So it's just making sure that I'm just organized and that I wake up in the morning, I have my list of what I need to do and I hit every single goal. Right. So that is my weakest point that I'm working on.
Mine too, and what I've realized is being able to surround yourself with people who are organized help you become more organized. So that's kind of like the trick, I think, is like you surround yourself in people on your team that are organized kind of help bring you into center and keep you focused. And I think that's...
I've actually been having my very organized employees like make templates for me so I can kind of learn how to make like a spreadsheet. Like, this is how it should look. So I'm just going to like make sure I use that.
You have no idea how much anxiety I get at spreadsheets, and because I see people who use them, they're super organized and checklist and have like color-coded things, and I'm like, I go to try to create one, and I'm like, I just freeze. I'm like, how do they do this?
Yeah,
this is
so
insane.
make them give you a template.
Yeah, right.
It's so much easier.
Exactly.
Just plug and play.
All right, I'm going to borrow that. Really appreciate you coming out to the farm and spending time with us. You have an amazing story. You're an amazing person and inspiration for tons of people, entrepreneurs, artists alike. And I guess, you know, if people want to find you, want to look up your company, want to buy something from you, how do they do that?
Well, WoodwardThrowbacks.com. You can just Google that and you find us. And our Instagram. I feel like our Instagram is so important to look at because we always do stories of our salvage jobs, new things coming in, sales. But you really kind of like get to live, breathe, and kind of live the experience of like what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. So our Instagram is just Woodward Throwbacks. But
all right, perfect. Well, thanks.
Yeah,
perfect. Well, thanks for coming out, Bo. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I hope you remember that everything in life is borrowed, so make sure to love hard, work hard, stay humble, and help each other out along the way. Find and subscribe to more of Everything Borrowed episodes through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. If you really want to make our day, drop us a 5-star review so more people can find the work we're sharing. Stay up to date with weekly articles on business, life, and my interactions with amazing entrepreneurs and creators at everythingborrowedpodcast.com. EBP is produced by Chelsea Cox and Jason Brown. Edited and filmed by Nick Ferguson. Art is produced by Adam Yarbrough. Everything Borrowed is an after-hours media production. Copyright 2020.